I'm excited to see what Tampa can do, but I have them in second because I think that Toronto's better, not because I think Tampa's gotten worse.
Same.
All right, so let's get into the Maple Leafs then, and I have them in the number 2 spot. But I mean, Chad, like you said, like with these 3 that I have, and I mean, I don't know who you guys have in there to round out your top 3, but very interchangeable. And Toronto is a very good regular season team. Obviously, a different goalie tandem with Matt Murray and Ilya Samsonov. We'll see how that works out. Murray has looked good and is going to be the starter from the get-go on Wednesday night in Montreal at the Bell Center. And then some minor changes. The back end stays pretty much the same. Up front, though, Obe Kubel, Järnkrok, Adam Gaudette, an extra forward, and the list goes on. And Dennis Malgin back as well, who, Chad, I know you're just chomping at the bit to talk about when we're mentioning the Leafs here. But, yeah, I have Toronto in the second spot, but could see them finishing at the top of this division. And, man, I don't see Austin Matthews slowing down at all in the race for the Rocket Richard. He could go out and grab that again this season. So yeah, that's my those are my thoughts on the Leafs, and let's get into Toronto.
You want me to go, Case, or?
I don't know. Is it better to round it off with the Toronto nut or with the person who has a more level head in terms of Toronto?
Okay, rude. I put the Leafs at, I think, number 2 last year when I think they were, that's where they finished, but you guys didn't even like that. But I think I'm pretty reasonable about the team. So I'll start, and I'll be quick, I promise. I think this might be the best way to limit the amount I talk on the Leafs if I start. So I just think overall, I think they got better at every position, like forward, defense, and goalie. In terms of forwards, they've clearly got the same core. You've got your Matthews, your Marner, Tavares, Nylander, Bunting, etc. But now you're adding in the top 6 one of, if not both of, Nick Robertson and Dennis Malgin. We'll see what they can do. They're kind of question marks there, but they're offensively minded guys. And then the bottom 6, I just absolutely love how it has an identity now, especially the fourth line. The fourth line, as it's set up right now, is Obe Kubel, David Kampf, and Zach Aston Reese. And I think, the fourth line for the Leafs for the longest time just didn't have an identity. It was older guys who were still hanging around in the league. It was young guys who were trying to, get a jump and do something at the NHL level and only played a handful of games. But now that fourth line is going to be, 1, tough to play against, 2, defensively responsible and eat up a lot of minutes against top lines of other teams. So I really love how their bottom 6 shakes out now. And then on defense, I think they got better just because, you have guys like Liljegren and Sandin who are a year older, and all you lost on the back end was Ilya Lyubushkin, who, it was nice to have as a deadline ad, but he's not making or breaking your team there on the back end. He was pretty versatile, I'll give him that, and I think he's going to do well in Buffalo. And then in net, it's a big gamble between the pipes, but then again, so was last year. The Leafs had the 8th worst goaltending in the NHL last year in terms of goals saved above expected. There were only 7 teams who had worse goaltending in the NHL, and the Leafs still had 115 points. This year, if I'm making a bet, and I already did in our predictions episode, hot takes episode, Harp, where I said that Matt Murray will set a career high in wins and have a save percentage above .912. If I'm making a bet, I'm going to say at least one of those guys is going to be better than the combination of Jack Campbell, Peter Mrazek, and Eric Källgren were over the course of points at last season. So I don't think goaltending, again, is going to win or lose, or is going to make or break their season in the regular season. When it comes to the playoffs, that's a different story, but that's not what we're talking about. So to sum up, I just think in general they got better probably at every position, and I think they're in a really good spot here to compete not only for the division title here, but also the President's Trophy. I really think they're that good this year. Go ahead, Case.
Right.
Yeah, so the way I see it is this season is the season that we go into with the least amount of question marks for the Toronto Maple Leafs, in my opinion, over the last, maybe decade. Sorry, I'm just pulling something up on. Got it. Okay. For example, they have players playing in position now. They're not shoehorning Ilya Mikheyev in there. We're not debating on where Michael Bunting should play because we know where he should play now. Same goes for Kerfoot. Same goes on the back end. There's no debate anymore on this team, and I think that that's going to be such a great mindset to go into the season. When I look at them, I see a solid actual fourth line, not like you said, a couple old timers that we're really holding on to. The third line there, like we've seen now, like the debate is settled on Kerfoot, where he should play and what type of player he is. They put him on defense, and from what I heard, I didn't see the game, he was effective on defense because he can play that two-way role. Obviously, he's still the punching bag of this team when it comes to the media, although there might be a new boy in town for that. But we saw Kalle Järnkrok, who I thought was a sniper, turn out to be a real good penalty killer and a real good two-way guy. So the bottom six is settled. The top six is, five of them, we know what we got, and then a couple tryouts here that could be really good. Denny Malgin, he better score at a .87 pace or greater, or else the media is going to shit on him because he's not Mason Marchment, and I am already getting nauseous thinking about it. So for that reason, I kind of wish he didn't come and play in North America because I'm going to have to hear about it so much. But I do hope he's successful. I think we maybe have a Pui Suter in our hands here, and he could be good. If not, Robinson, I think we've seen flashes of brilliance from him, so he could be in there. To me, the only big question mark with this team is goaltending, and it's a question mark. But like you said, Chad, the Leafs were good with below average goaltending last year, so I'm really not concerned about goaltending. Either it's boom or average here. There's no bust. It's not really going to be detrimental to them, I think. So I think that the Leafs, they've really rounded out the team with identity players and players playing in the identity that suits them. And for that reason, I have them above Tampa this year.
I want to say two things in response to that, Case. Number one, do you want to hear the other 7 teams who had worse goaltending than the Leafs last season?
Well, I know New Jersey was one of them.
Chicago, New Jersey, Seattle, Montreal, Arizona, Buffalo, and Detroit. So if Toronto's
lots of playoff teams there.
Yeah, if Toronto's in 8th, one of these things is not like the other, and I think it's, Jack Campbell and Peter Mrazek. Mostly Peter Mrazek and Eric Shelgren, but anyway. And I forget the second thing I was going to say, so go ahead, Art.
Yeah, well, I mean, with Campbell, it was a tale of 2 seasons, right? He was lights out his first 25 games or so, and then after the All-Star break, just fell off a cliff, and then got it back together late in the year and into the playoffs as well, and no support behind him. That was the problem. Now you've got a 1A, 1B situation, and I am all for Matt Murray being comeback player of the year and just getting back to what we saw out of him when he won back-to-back Stanley Cups in Pittsburgh. And by the way, love the Zach Aston Reese signing as well. 1 year, $840K, good forechecker, and provides an identity on that fourth line. I really like that as well. Obey Kubel has got some sandpaper, and David Kampf has really proven to be a serviceable forward and a good two-way centerman for this team. So, they've got some roles filled, and after hearing all of that, I'm willing to move them up to number 1 spot in this division and put Tampa down to 2.